Hello, everyone. Today we are talking about the third book in the Kingsbridge series, A Column of Fire by Mr. Ken Follett. If you haven't already, go back and check out my reviews of the first two books in the series. I read those the last couple weeks, and this is week number 3, which means books number 3. So here we go. Book number 3, A Column of Fire. If you've been reading along with the books, you know there are time jumps between each of them, and for this third one, once again, we have about a 200-year jump. This one takes place from about 1558, and the epilogue goes into 1620, but the bulk of it ends about 1606. So there's your time frame for this one. And whereas the first two books were pretty localized within Kingsbridge, sure, we jumped out to some other cities and even a little bit in other countries, but for the most part, they took part in Kingsbridge. This book really expands our reading world within the book. We move from different countries often. We have our main characters who come from Kingsbridge, but they're working with other factions and other sides and moving around. So we jump to Spain. We get a lot of time in France, even the Netherlands, and the New World. We get a short little trip there a couple times. So this book expands the world of our characters a lot more. And this book, it's not about building a cathedral or a bridge. This book is about religion and two competing sides, the Catholics and the Protestants. And so that's where our characters come in, our Kingsbridge characters, some of whom are Catholics and some of whom are Protestants. And they wind up working for the different sides, hooking up with monarchs, the Queen of England, the King of France, their advisors, and working against each other. Even though they grew up together in this little town, here they are, sitting with the high rollers, trying to fight each other. And of course, we've got, the people they marry, the kids, the illegitimate kids they have that all get intermixed and, connects them even further than even they know. So you get a lot of, this book is much more political and religiously political, I guess you would say, than the first two books. And this one, we get introduced to a lot more historical figures, and we introduced and intimately involved with, like the Queens of England, Sir Francis Drake, Guy Fawkes jumps in there. We spend time with the kings of France, Spain, Scotland, and we also meet a lot of real life people, real bishops, assassins, and spies that really existed. There's a whole list in the back of the book. In fact, where is my book? I can't reach it. There's a whole list of each country and the people who are real that you come across in the book. So having all this, I had to separate myself from the realness of the people. Because as I would read and we'd come across Mary Tudor and Guy Fawkes, and this year I'd go down a rabbit hole and be like, wait, so this time does this match up with our fictional characters? It is too much. Then I'm just reading and my eyes are glazing over while my mind's thinking about other things. I'm like, okay, let me just treat this book like straightly fiction. Don't worry about the timelines, the places, the people, what they're doing, compared to what really happened. That is just what worked for me, or else I would go crazy while reading it. So, because I really don't know anything besides names of true history, so I'm like, all right, just treat this as a fictional book and see where it goes. Don't even worry about the truth. Having said that, I did enjoy the story. Not as much as I thought I would. Having read the back cover, I thought, oh, okay, we've got spy rings and assassins. Oh, this could be really fun. And it was all right. But the problem, I think, with this book, like I said, our main characters from Kingsbridge, they go off to work for opposite sides. So when we're switching back and forth, you learn and get to know everything that one side is doing, the Catholics, what they're plotting, their schemes, what spies they have going out, and you learn everything that the Protestants are doing, all their spies, all their plots and schemes. So whenever something comes up, they crisscross, and someone goes like, "Oh no, I didn't see this coming." You're like, well, "Yeah, I saw that coming." 100 pages back. You're reading about somebody, and you're like, "You don't know what's coming." Somebody else, you're like, "I wouldn't do that if I were you." So that kind of took the suspense out of it, the fun, the reveals. And you're like, "Oh my goodness, that guy! I can't believe it was him." It's like, no, saw that coming. So I didn't really. It would have made it better for me if we had had more of that kind of stuff going on. The only things that really surprised me, some of the deaths that popped up, which there are some good deaths. There's some bad ones too, of course, but the good ones, those people who really get it or deserve it, still get some good ones of those too. And some of them I wasn't expecting. You're like, oh, and you're done. See you later. So that was good stuff. And I also really liked in this one, like I said, moving from different countries and even the New World. Obviously, we're at sea a lot, and we get some fun sea battles, which I really enjoy. One small one and a couple bigger ones, which are really good. I enjoyed them a lot, but for me, they left me wanting more. I love sea battles. The tension of when they're going to fire their cannons, what they hit, if anybody's going to be able to jump on the other ship, or setting fires and launching like dead boats at another one. Good stuff. Little short for my taste, but that's just me being picky. I think it's because I don't know if you've ever read Roger Crowley's books on the Mediterranean about the Venetians and the Spanish, the Turks, the Portuguese. A lot of detail and long battles at sea within bays or coves. Awesome stuff. So maybe I'm a little jaded because I'd read those recently. But the sea stuff, the sea battles in A Column of Fire, really, really enjoyed. Now, there's also a side story, like we usually get. Some characters you're like, why are we following them? They don't really matter much, really. It's just we're following them, I guess, to show what else is going on in the world. But there's a side story with one of the main characters' brother and his cousin. They start out, they're just working, making stuff, and then they have to flee where they're living. They end up joining the Spanish army. And they go along with the Spanish army, and then they have to desert the army. And then one makes it to the New World while the others are doing other things. And that part I found really interesting. It was fun. One of the better side stories from all of these books. I think that really, if you enjoyed the first two books, you're going to like this one. It is different, although the same. It feels the same reading it. There's a lot more going on than maybe I lead on. You meet, like I said, a lot of people you meet who, even like lowly people, maybe just like basic store owners or something, who kind of find themselves, getting interweaved with important people, either through marriage or kids or that kind of stuff. And they you follow with them and rise up and, end up playing a big part in the end. So it's good stuff. It's more exciting with the politics and that kind of stuff too, as well. So yeah, if you like the first two, you're going to like these. Now, I have spent most days, the last 3 weeks, reading these 3 books. I think 2 books, they each took me 6 days to read, and one I read in 5 days. And so that's a lot of reading. And I think I'm going to shelf historical fiction for a while, just because it's been a lot recently, but also I talked about all the real people you meet, and immediately it gets my mind going about what really happened, who these people really were. And I think real history, nonfiction stuff, is exciting enough that I don't want to fill my head with fake stories about people. Like, I think there's a series about Genghis Khan. I think it's a historical fiction. And I'm like, first I'm like, oh, that sounds so cool. I want to read about him, see what was going on. But then you're like, I don't want to fill my head with fake stories. I want to read the real stuff and read what really went on. And I've got a couple other books by Dan Jones that I want to read, because it's really interesting stuff. Those Roger Crowley books I mentioned, you should definitely check those out. Those are awesome books. So yeah, I think I'm going to steer clear of historical fiction and go with the real thing. Now, what's next? I'm not going to read there's a 4th book in this series. What is it? The Morning something. I think it's a prequel or something. The reviews I've read say it's not as good, so I think I'm just gonna skip over it, not worry about it. So next, I'm gonna jump into a fantasy book, something I see often on BookTube, one of those like hidden gems or on those lists of great books you've never heard about, is Taigana by Guy Gabriel Kay. So I'm going to switch it up, go to fantasy, see what that's all about. I hope to have that review up next week. Should be able to have it up next week, and then we can discuss that. So if you've read A Column of Fire or any of these books, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought, and I will catch up with you later. Bye.